right, guys, how we doing? Welcome to the first of the new TSF live series, and in true TSF fashion, someone is running late. So as you can see, Callum isn't here yet, but he is hopefully joining. He's blaming his laptop. He's had so much notice that this was going to be happening, and he still made an asset. But anyway, I'm joined by Jack Robertson. Jack's a new face to the channel. Some of you might have seen him on Deb's podcast, Nay First Touch. Jack's a Rangers fan, as you'll find out throughout the show, and Jack's hungover, but very happy after yesterday, mate.
Very happy. I'm a wee bit nervous because I've never been live before, but we'll see how it goes.
Mate, you'll be absolutely fine. If I can manage it, absolutely anybody can. So, listen, I think Callum's going to join us, but we're going to just do this show, and we're going to talk about the Old Firm game yesterday. But then all of a sudden, last night, football has just absolutely died, mate. The game has gone. So we're going to cover the Super League stuff a little bit as well. We've got the chat open, we've got live chat, so we'll take your questions throughout. Of course, if we miss any questions, we'll try and come back to them at the end. But quite a lot of people in the chat, some of the usuals on. Oh, Ryan 118's in the chat. What a specky clown he is. Aidan Drennan, nice to see you. Matthew Duff. So, yeah, it's good to be having a wee live show. So we might as well just kick it off with the news of football absolutely dying last night, Jack. Well, yes. You were obviously a bit pissed last night when the news broke. So have you had time to kind of gather your thoughts on what broke last night?
I mean, it briefly kind of sobered me up a bit because I was like in a wee bit of a trance of thinking, is this actually happening? Because it's been proposed like for ages now, isn't it? Like people saying, going to make a Super League. I'm pretty sure I've seen a clip of the old Manchester United manager claiming that it's just like a money engine, and he doesn't like it at all. But the fact that it's even getting spoke about in a serious manner is a bit concerning. And then obviously UEFA coming out kind of condemning it as well. So it's a bit a nutcase situation.
Yeah, PBC 25 was asking if Callum's joined a breakaway. Quite possible. But yeah, it's absolutely mad. I mean, I was nice and sober yesterday. I was behaving, so I was watching the news come through, and I went in a bit of a Twitter tirade last night. It's just absolutely mental. I think everyone's kind of known this sort of thing was going to happen for a long time, but then like we're going, wow, this is actually fucking happening now. I mean, it's mental, and the fact that the clubs have taken such a battering, you're hardly seeing anyone, positively backing this at all. It's just like the world is united in their hate for it, and it's just proof, mate, that the owners of these big clubs, they don't give a fuck about the fans.
No, 100%. You've seen that all over the board, like Liverpool fans showing up at Anfield today, putting banners up saying that they don't want it. People showed it outside Tottenham Hotspur training ground when Jose Mourinho's literally leaving after being sacked. There's guys standing with banners saying like we don't want this league. So. And the fact that Arsenal are in it after they're like ninth in the league.
Oh, no, absolutely well. Matthew McKinley, thanks for the £1 super chat. And just as we're talking, Callum is here, and Callum's now live straight away. He's not getting any chance to adapt to it. Callum, would you like to explain yourself? We've got a question. Someone asking if you're forming your own breakaway live show. Any thoughts on that?
Me? I think as well as why not.
So, Callum, we just started off talking about we're going to do the Old Firm game, but I suppose the world's going a bit mad with the Super League. What were you were a wee bit pissed last night as well. So I think I was the only sober one seeing the news. So I'm guessing you've read up on it today. What's your kind of thoughts on it?
Oh, it's absolutely horrific. Like, I mean, I think it was Kieran, he put it on Twitter saying a lot of the big clubs that saying get their closed shop now, they'll be happy with that. Because it is just this, football has just turned into money. Yeah. I think it was, I seen it, somebody pointed out, and it was the banner at the Stretford end, Old Trafford, and it was Matt Busby's quote. It's football for the fans and nothing, and it has just been took right away for the fans now.
It's mental, mate, and it's. I think someone's telling me to check Twitter because we've got breaking news, but I'm not seeing it. So someone's gonna have to. What's the news? I think someone's just taking the piss out of me. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely wild, mate. I mean, I don't know how it's going to affect Scotland already. You're seeing people on Twitter today talking about, should Celtic and Rangers go down south if all the big teams leave? All that nonsense. Fucking George Galloway was on Twitter saying Celtic and Rangers should go down south. That sums that man up, but. Yeah, it's absolutely wild, and you just got to kind of wonder now. The big thing for me is like, when you're a kid, you don't grow up dreaming of fucking playing in the Super League. You grow up dreaming to win the European Cup, the World Cup, and they're putting it all at stake, and it's mad. And Jack, the one thing that's come out today is the UEFA have said that players from the clubs involved are not going to be at the Euros. So I mean, that's no Tierney, that's no Robertson, that's no McTominay for Scotland.
Happy days, that's not different.
Oh, no.
I mean, part get caught.
Yeah, maybe Patterson will get a call up. Yeah. Oh, what's this? Carry on here. There was breaking news. It was an hour ago. I think that there's been a new Sky deal agreed with the Premiership for next season. So God, there's so much to cover in so little time here. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure Ryan and Dev will go into more detail on the Super League stuff tomorrow. The game's absolutely gone, mate. But yeah, there's not an awful lot we can say on it just now. Let's kind of move on to yesterday's game. Callum, I'll start with you. Celtic were, I don't even know where to start with Celtic because they created so many chances but couldn't finish their dinner yesterday.
No, as you've said, like, I couldn't even finish a fucking sentence at this rate. Like, I think that's been a difference the last 3 or 4 old firms. So, like, Rangers proving they've got players that can actually take the ball, put it in the back of the net. I mean, Edwards attempted yesterday, and he's tried this wee flick. I put it on Twitter. He was on the fancy round that game of Red Arse. He was trying.
It was dreadful, mate. I mean, I thought that, like, it's another one. Like, the last 3 Old Firm games, I don't know if you'll agree with this, Jack, but I've watched Rangers and thinking they're not really getting out of second gear. And yesterday, Rangers did more than enough to win the game, but I've seen Rangers play so much better than that yesterday, and they still got the result.
I feel like offensively we don't look as threatening as we used to be, but I feel like defensively we've never really showed any weaknesses. Like, I feel like we've done exactly what we wanted to do yesterday. When Celtic had the ball, we sat in and asked them to try and break us down. And obviously there was chances they probably should have put away. I think it was the Welsh one, Tumble putting a cracking ball, and Welsh should be doing better, obviously. But it's chances like that you can't pass by when you're playing against Rangers because of the defence this season's been unbelievable.
Yeah, it just summed up I thought the game yesterday was a great metaphor for the season. Rangers are just go about their business professionally. They all know their job. They all know what they're doing. Alan McGregor, again, a difference maker as he has been all season long. And I mean, you look at the Celtic players, there's no confidence in front of goal, Callum. You mentioned the shot from Edward. Why he's not just, smashed it into the net, I've got no idea. And then the penalty is such a low confidence penalty. He didn't look like he was ever going to score that.
No, it looked very half-assed. The penalty, as if he was just kind of, I said, better just turn up and just putting it by the post. It did not seem like he could be able to take it at all, especially as you're seeing a player that's low in confidence in it. I don't want him to go and take it. I thought Griff was going to take it, see that he was chasing after the ball. I thought he'd run up. If you put him on it, I'm not saying he would have scored it, but he's going to put his laces through it.
Yeah.
A much better attempt than what Edwards was.
And, a good save McGregor obviously went the right way. But I mean, you look at Celtic at the back again. I thought Ryan Kent absolutely ran the show from a Rangers point of view. I mean, he was at times he was absolutely taking the piss yesterday. And I think I think a lot of people last season, Jack, were critical of Kent from outside of Rangers for his numbers and all the rest of it. But again, yesterday showed what he brings to Rangers all round game. Ryan Kent.
Kent seems to be a big game player. Like you see him against like a Hamilton or like a St Johnstone, and he doesn't really do much. But when he plays like Celtic or in the Europa League, he seems to come into his own. I think a bit more time in the ball, gives him more options, and he can do what he wants with the ball a bit more. I think another standout was Joe Rebo, but Joe Rebo sent Lax out the shops about 10 times going down that wing, and then obviously it gets subbed and then comes on with Taylor. I don't know, a few Celtic fan pals of mine said that they wanted Taylor to start Lax out, and then a few said they wanted Lax out with Taylor. So it was one of the ones where who was it going to be?
Yeah, I think that was the big raised eyebrows from you, Callum, yesterday, was that Taylor was not playing and Laxalt started. And I mean, that first half performance from Diego Laxalt was absolutely embarrassing. There was nothing redeeming about that. He got done far too easily time and time again.
I know, there's so many times he gets sent to the shops yesterday. Even there was a point with Patterson. He took the ball down the line, just jinks inside the two of them, then takes it. It was unlucky not to scoff it. But like wee things like that, a player of AC Milan quality, I'm not saying starting AC Milan quality, but for AC Milan to have signed him, he clearly must have done something before, but he just does not look a player at all.
No, he looked absolutely miles off it. And I think Greg Taylor, we talked about this yesterday, Callum. I think Greg Taylor's taken a lot of criticism of Celtic fans because he's not Kieran Tierney. And when you've got someone of that standard to try and live up to, you're never going to exceed expectations. But I mean, Taylor defensively is night and day to Laxalt. And I mean, for you, Jack, you must have been loving it. Every time the Rangers wingers went forward, whether it be Kent, whether it be a Rebo down the right, Morelos in the channels, they were having an absolute field day in the wide areas.
100%. I mean, I was a wee bit sceptical of the team. I thought they might have played Roof instead of Rebo. I knew Arfield would play just for that physical presence in the middle because Celtic have kind of dominated the middle of the park the last couple. But once I seen Rebo was a wee bit, because Rebo can be quite hot and cold. I've seen it like when he plays good, he's really good, but when he's bad, you kind of lose him a bit. But after like 10 15 minutes, you could see he was comfortable in the game, and then I can knew Laxalt a bit more than Laxalt thought he knew him, like the way Rebo was turning and the way he was playing the ball. Laxalt just didn't know how to handle him. So I was surprised that he started. I'd have probably started Taylor. Obviously, I don't know as much as you guys about like Celtic stuff, but I would have started Taylor at Laxalt.
It's not just defensively, Callum, because I remember watching the game yesterday, and there was a moment where I think it was McGregor or Turnbull, and they obviously when Celtic play that formation, they need the fullbacks to provide the width, And Laxalt wasn't even doing that going forward. You know, the amount of times that you were expecting him to ball on and find a cross. And, you know, I know people say Greg Taylor's not great going forward, but Laxalt offered next to nothing yesterday as well in an attacking sense.
No, I think there was a point we've seen it where, I think it was Christie, the ball at the edge of the box. He needs him to make that overlap and run for him. So we get him in to put it out and then whip a ball in. But nothing, that's how it ended up taking on one of his famous shots to go over the bar. But as you were saying, that we need them to provide with when we're playing this diamond, but it just isn't happening at all.
Just to break up some of this chat, we've got a donation from Mr. Ryan 118. Get that studio, he says. So obviously his YouTube mega bucks aren't quite enough to fund a studio yet. If all we're getting is £1.99, the views can't be doing that well. Yeah, I mean, there's one player in particular I want to talk about, and Dev's just asked it. Dev's in the chat as well. He's just asked it as I was going to bring it up. It's a running joke on this channel about how much I love Steve Davis. I just think he's absolutely fantastic. And what about that finish for the first goal, Jack? It was just from a 36-year-old midfielder. You wouldn't have expected it from him.
I mean, if you were to tell me that before the game that Stephen Davis was going overhead kick, I don't really know what my reaction would have been in that sense. But the fact that he's managed to get a fit on that, the way the speed of the ball that comes at him, I don't know why he's even up there. He's probably got a nosebleed in the videos. I'm not even seeing the highlights back for it. But the way he gets, he's just turned his back and puts it in the back of the net. At first, when I seen it going, I thought there must be some sort of offside or something going on there, because it looks like Scott Bender's even trying to save it. But the fact that he's able to get a fit to that is pretty impressive. The
Celtic defence just seemed to stop. I mean, Brown's playing Davis on, but I mean, I don't know if it's who was close. I think it might be Kenny, but nobody's picking him up. He's just standing there, and it's evident of what Celtic have struggled with all season, Callum. They're just at the back, they're so pedestrian. And what I was thinking yesterday was watching the game is, like, when Dedrick Boyata was at Celtic, right, he had his faults. Obviously wasn't the best defender, but he was always aggressive in his defending. None of these Celtic players are aggressive in defending. They're so passive, and it makes it far too easy for the opposition players, Callum.
I know, there's not one player that's sort of, they don't want to get that well to grit their teeth and just get on the tackles. A lot of people say, oh, your centre-half shouldn't be these players that are always coming off the pitch absolutely bogging. Like, you need somebody that is going to be that player, but Celtic don't have one player like that in their back line at all. Sometimes actually go in and just not fly through tackling, but rash, but somebody that is very aggressive towards challenges.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to get tight to players and not give them time, especially in an Old Firm game. And the time that some of these Rangers players had in the ball was a bit ridiculous yesterday. But I think you look at the difference yesterday, and I mean, Scott Brown's performance compared to Steve Davis' performance yesterday. Jack, have we lost Callum again? He's away for another break.
He's away. They said he was 2 minutes, I'm sure.
But the difference in Brown and Davis was quite startling, I thought, Jack.
Aye, Stephen Davis seems to be. He ran that midfield. I feel like his position in the whole game. He ran the way it was going to go, and just his passing in general for in a Rangers shirt over the two spells. I thought you could find a game where his passing isn't unbelievable. He's probably one of the only players in that team. I feel like when they're not in the team, you notice it a lot more than others. Like Ryan Jack was one of them. I remember when Ryan Jack got injured the first game after it, I could notice he wasn't there, like there was something missing. I feel like Davis would be another one of those. If he was injured, if he couldn't play, you notice that gap that we need him in.
Psycho Candy, they're pretty critical of John Kennedy, saying he got the big decision wrong regarding Laxalt and Taylor. Callum, I think that any chance John Kennedy had of getting the job is firmly gone now.
Aye, I mean, personally, I'd have been surprised if he did have a bit of a shout as it stood, but I think those wee sort of decisions are the ones that that's decided it from.
Yeah, and it was just, I think we've seen it in the last few, that the game definitely misses the supporters. I didn't think it had the intensity that, maybe it's just something that plays with your mind when there's not the atmosphere, but it didn't seem to have the intensity of a normal Old Firm game. And for all that Celtic created chances, I don't know, it's just, it must be really hard for a Celtic fan to take any positives from that. Matthew McKinley saying Patterson was my man of the match, and the penalty was never a penalty. Patterson had a good game, I thought, Jack, barring the one. I think he made a loose pass back to Edward for one of the chances. But apart from that, he had a very good game. And again, lots of talk about him potentially for the Euros. Jack, where do you stand on that?
I don't see why not. I feel like he's a cracking young player. I feel like that would be an amazing experience for somebody like that. I mean, he showed he can play at a big level. He scored in Europa League. He started on Old Firm quite comfortably. Played unbelievable. I don't know if I'd give him man of the match. I think McGregor kind of tops him a wee bit. And then I would even say maybe Aribo and Davis were in there as well. But that's the best thing about this Rangers team now. Like, we're picking 4 different people for the man of the match. I mean, that must be good signs. And if Patterson's even in that equation, then obviously a call up to Euros would be amazing. But it might be too soon for him in Steve Clarke's eyes. But you look at people like Billy Gilmore, Turnbull, Patterson, all young players that I feel like should be in that team.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page with this one, Callum, where we both, I think he probably should get a shout in the squad, but knowing Steve Clarke, the chances of him getting in the squad, I think, are quite slim. We know what Clark's like. He's very loyal, and, Stephen O'Donnell is his man, and he's probably going to stick with him, I think, Callum, despite how well Patterson's done.
And I'd be very surprised if he was to drop O'Donnell. I think I just said he is very loyal to his players. The players that got him there, he will stick with them. I'd put it in the TSF chat yesterday, and I was saying, seems was to get taken, say it comes to the last game of the group and it's a dead rubber, we're not it. What's to stop him from giving him that game? Get him the experience in a Scotland shirt.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think it's not even that. I mean, you're not telling me that Stephen O'Donnell is much better than Nathan Patterson already. I'm not having that. And I'm a big advocate for giving the youth players a chance at the senior squad. Even if you take him right and you don't play him for a minute, you've now got a young lad who's going to be playing for Scotland in the future. There's next to no doubt about that now. Having the experience of being at a major tournament, knowing what it's all about, and that'll make the world of difference. Just quickly for everyone in the chat, any questions you've got for us to discuss at the end of the show? This is the first show, so we're just kind of playing it, just taking it nice and fluid, just going with the flow a little bit after the weekend. But yeah, I mean, Jack, I'm guessing you'll be very confident now at your chance to win the Scottish Cup.
I mean, I said that when Celtic got put at the League Cup, so I'll bite my tongue a wee bit before I get too cocky. But this is what I said to like my Celtic fan pals. It's I even said it on the first touch with Div and Custon. Like, it's beating Celtic. It's the best chance to win it now. So there's no excuses now. We can't exactly turn around and say any opposition we face now is going to be what we just faced there. Celtic was the hardest team to beat. We beat them. We should go and win it, but you never know in cup competitions. I mean, St Johnstone could be a wee banana peel for us, but I hope no. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I predicted last week before the game I'm backing a St Johnstone Cup double, so we'll find out in the next game if that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, Callum, that was the only chance to salvage something from your season, wasn't it? That the Scottish Cup, and now that's knackered now.
That's the only thing that could have been was a sort of to get a wee bit of glimmer of hope towards a god awful season. So at least with something, but no, it's just a case of counting down the games till the league's done and next season started.
Psycho Candy with it. Oh, we'll come on to that. Psycho Candy with a £2 donation. I think Spunk Phone's in the chat causing a bit of mischief, so I'm surprised we haven't been asked about Hayley Williams yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. Thank you for the donation. Anyway,
I'm going to batter every Rangers fan in the chat.
It's absolutely superb. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, the last dance part didn't really work. It kind of died fast. It's just absolutely.
I think it's certainly get the arse right with it.
Yeah, it's one of those, man. You knew that was going to go one way or the other, and it didn't really work. There was a couple of questions I want to touch on really quickly. Ben CB3 asks, is Liam Cooper our best centre half? I'm assuming he obviously means Scotland rather than Leeds, but I don't know about that for me. I mean, I think Kieran Tierney's probably our best centre half, if I'm honest, guys. I don't know about you, Jack, for Scotland.
I think you can put Kieran Tierney in any position in that Scotland team and it'll look good. So Kieran Tierney probably would. But I
think Liam Cooper, Callum, will be one that'll probably be announced. There was an article today about Declan Gallagher saying Steve Clarke had said he had to get games before the Euros in order to get back into the squad. But I mean, Liam Cooper is probably somebody who we'll see in that squad, I think, Callum.
I'd imagine so. I mean, if it's to go with his favoured 5-3-2 or such, I'd probably put him in at him, Hanlon, probably KT, I think, would be a shout.
There was another question there I want to find really quickly. So yeah, obviously Jose Mourinho left Tottenham this morning. It was something I'd thought about, but I hadn't brought up yet. Obviously, the Eddie Howe thing with Celtic is still. Listen, you can't do a show about Scottish football just now and not mention Eddie Howe, so we're contractually obliged to do that. So I wonder if he'll be a shout for that Spurs job, Callum. Do you think that would be something that? I mean, well, definitely he'd be interested in. Do you think Spurs would go for someone like him?
As you've said, it's something definitely he would love it, but personally I don't feel Spurs will go for him. I feel like they'll try and shop about first to see what they can get.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting. It seems to be. I mean, I know Dominic Mackay's on the door now at Celtic, so we'll probably see some movement on that front in terms of manager soon. You'd imagine, because at the moment it doesn't seem like there's a great deal of progress. The Eddie Howe stuff is kind of quieting down in the last week or so. So it'll be interesting to see. Jack, just quickly from your point of view, because obviously you're new to the show, we'll get your thoughts on this. Eddie Howe to Celtic, what would you make of that?
I think he's the only name floated about that was a wee bit like, all right, okay. Like, see when you see like Roy Keane and stuff like that, I'm going to be buzzing with that. So if they appointed Eddie Howe, I'd be a bit more worried than Roy Keane, I'll say that.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. But yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Tim Sherwood back at Tottenham, that would be interesting. I wonder if we still got the gilet he used to rock back in the day. But anyway, what was going to come on to there? Yeah, somebody mentioned something about Ryan Jack. I mean, Rangers didn't miss him yesterday, particularly Jack, but certainly for Scotland, he's been a massive miss. Obviously, the news that he's now out for the Euros is a big blow.
I mean, one of those ones, like personally for him, I feel bad for him because the first one since I've been alive, I was born 97. The first one was 98, so the first one I'll even see. So for him, it will be a big gutter. It's one of those ones. European and World Cups don't really come that often for us. So the fact that this might have been his last chance to go to one is a bit of a gutter. But the Scotland midfield seems to be one of the places that we're actually alright in. So I don't think he'll be missed in Scotland as much as maybe like a John McGinn or something like that. So I feel Brian will love that. I just realised what channel I'm on. It's one. I feel more sorry for him than I do about like anything else.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. I think we're watching Scotland recently. You know, they've obviously got good midfielders, but all our decent midfielders are naturally more attacking. Even Scott McTominay is someone who's better going forward than he is at the back. McGinn's obviously in that mould, so is Callum McGregor. So I don't know, Callum. It's going to be a square peg in a round hole in that sort of deep line spot in the midfield in the Euros.
I mean, I think Steve Clarke will certainly be fans full way how to decide, but I think that's one of the better parts that he's got the headache with. The fact he's got so many good options that he can use in there.
Yeah, there's a comment here that I'm amazed I'm even absolutely highlighting it. I'm not having that. By the way. Daft. Very aptly named channel there, because that's a bit of a daft comment. I'm not having that. He's I say it to Ryan all the time. John McGinn's turned into like our generation's James McFadden. He's just a talisman for Scotland now. He's not always easy in the eye, John McGinn, but he always gets the important goals. But
that sounds a bit salty, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what he does. Is that Peter Law that's behind that account? Would he stump up to £2.5 million? But yeah, so we've covered the Patters to Scotland stuff. I want to quickly cover a little bit of news that we're expecting to break this afternoon. Obviously, what I was just thinking earlier, actually, before I mentioned that, is what we're seeing today with world football, with all the clubs and the boards fighting, is like a worldwide scale of what happened in Scotland last summer with the emails and the end in the league. It's like absolutely just gone mad. I mean, I thought we were mad, but the world of football has just gone like that today. But anyway, on that kind of subject, we're expecting the news on whether or not there will be a playoff down at the bottom of League Two for Kelty and Brora to come up. Obviously, they didn't get the chance last year. Brecon stayed in the league. But controversial with a member of Brecon's board also on the SPFL board. But Callum, I think in terms of decency and fair play, you can't deny Kelty and Brora 2 years in a row the chance to get ahead of Brecon, who have been absolutely atrocious for 3 years now.
No, I mean, I think it would only be fair to let them have their game there. I mean, especially after calling it last year.
I don't know about you, Jack, but the whole thing about having I think the Brecon chairman was on the SPFL board, and then Brecon get voted to stay up. The whole thing kind of stank a little bit, and surely they're not going to get away with it now. I
feel like it's to the common person that seems like the fair thing to do, but you would know for the SPFL's history, they probably don't know they don't really know what they're doing with anything really. So I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
They still don't have a sponsor, so I mean, there's that. I mean, but I have to say that I think they tweeted, I don't know if you saw what the SPFL tweeted today, they put that video up of all the fans about how this is real football and all the rest of it. And I was like, oh, the SPFL put a good tweet up. They're preparing us to let us down this evening by making an arse of this decision. But quite a bit of chatting here about Greg Taylor, because obviously if it ends up being the case that the players in the Super League don't play at the Euros, we might have Greg Taylor at left back. But somebody's saying Josh Doig over Greg Taylor. I don't know. That's not a bad shout, but again, I suppose that Doig falls into that category of being a bit like Aaron Hickey. Trying to be a promising young Scottish left back is just the toughest job in the world at the moment. But Callum, what have you made of Josh Doig this season? Because I think there's Ryan saying it there. What I was going to come on to, a lot of chat that Celtic should look to sign Josh Doig.
I personally, for what I've seen him this season, I think he's been a cracking player for Hibs. I think he's very attacking minded, but so far what I've seen him defensively wise, I'd say he can still put a shift in. Also, he's still young. Still a lot to learn in the game, but I just say if Celtic want to go from I certainly wouldn't be opposing against it. Yeah, I don't know if Andy F signed Doig to Rangers. I don't know, Jack, if you heard after the Hibs game, Gerard's post-match comments where he called him Diog, which was very, very interesting. He absolutely butchered the pronunciation of his name. But that was a good battle in that game, Patterson and Doig, so I almost did it as well. So obviously they're two young fullbacks who, you'd imagine, Jack, they'll both be Scotland internationals in the future.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they've had probably the third or fourth biggest team in Scotland. Patterson, you can argue where he stands, but it's promising. It's promising to see young folk like them playing so well and at that level. Like usually you'll see them get pumped into like the Championship or League One, and they'll perform well there. But you always have that argument, oh, could they handle it at this level? But both of them kind of proven they can, so why not?
I was just going to go on to next. What was it? So obviously, Callum, now for you, from a Celtic point of view, I mean, what is even the point in the rest of this season now? You might as well just not bother playing.
No, if you're going to play, they're just going to put fucking under 18's team or something. There's literally who else to be playing for.
Yeah, and I think that I said this in the podcast last week. The whole idea, Jack, of Rangers going undefeated in the league has kind of been forgotten about, but that's still very much on the cards. Do you think that now will get done?
I'm not going to lie, this might sound just like Rangers tinted glasses here, but I don't. If there's going to be something that does it, I don't see it being Celtic. I see it being like a banana skin away game, or like maybe like Aberdeen at the last game, just at last hurdle. Gone after the old firms, like even when we played bad, we're still not getting beat. So I feel like in that game, the players know what they're doing. But you've seen a kind of slack a wee bit against like St Johnstone. We took a kind of a good strike off Hadji the last time to even get a 1-0. So that would be where I see the issues coming. But obviously, I'm confident. I'm going to say we can do it, but it's not the end of the road if we get beat. I'm not going to lie. Like everything that if you told me to start the season, you can put Celtic at the Scottish Cup, win the league, but you won't go undefeated. I'd be like, all right.
Yeah, that's what I was going to come on to, because we spoke to Dev about this last week, and I don't think Dev's too fussed about it. Does it mean anything to you, really? I mean, obviously it's a nice wee thing to have, but is it anything more than that?
It is literally bragging rights because Celtic done it. So it's literally it's like an argument that Celtic can no longer say it is. So see if like a Celtic fan hits as well, like our Invincibles thing, we can hit them back with a wee bit now. Obviously we've not done it over the 3 different competitions, but we're still winning.
Well, that's what I was just going to preempt you before Callum jumped in and said they did it over the 3 competitions, because I'm sure Callum's still going to have that to cling on to. That's a proper Invincible settle, Callum. But yeah. Anyway, so let's move on here. What have we got now? Just going to go through this chat. A lot of talk about what's Ryan saying here? Bring back Robertson, Henderson, get him in the middle of Sorrow. So Sorrow's an interesting one, Callum. I mean, Scott Brown's obviously not good on the Scottish Cup this season, and obviously he's leaving now. Do you think John Kennedy will chuck Sorrow back in and drop Brown?
I personally would like him to, but I don't see him doing it. I still see him sticking with the sentimental value and keep him in to the end of the season.
On Scott Brown, we'll try and transition, because I wanted to bring up Aberdeen. Obviously, their first game under Stephen Glass was at the weekend, winning penalties against against Livingston. I completely forgot they're playing there. Stephen Glass, what do you think of that appointment, Jack? Obviously, a bit of an out the box one, in that he's not had he was manager of the Atlanta United second team, obviously former Aberdeen player. What are your thoughts on that initial announcement? Do you think he'll do well, or is he, obviously he's got a hard task to follow after Derek McInnes did such a good job there?
I think when the news broke, I was just kind of like, who is this guy? What kind of stuff is he going to bring to Aberdeen? But the fact that they've scored a goal now, I mean, that's kind of promising. I mean, you can look at it any way you want, but they've actually put the ball in the back of the net after being behind twice, so that's a positive against a Livingston team who, by the way, have been absolutely cracking this season compared to what they're probably expected to do. They've got to a cup final, and I think Aberdeen will be chuffed to even get. I think you'll see a few Aberdeen fans that were getting, when that draw was made, they were a bit nervous. So the fact they've got through that on penalties nonetheless, but still.
You're right. I mean, Aberdeen were fast becoming known as Aberdeen nil, because they just weren't scoring goals. But I think, speaking to a few Aberdeen fans, I know that I don't think it was great on Saturday, but it was definitely a lot better than what they have seen, Callum. And I think that when you get a young manager like Stephen Glass, who's obviously, I mean, Atalanta are a really good side in the MLS. He's coached over there. The one thing Aberdeen fans were desperate for was better football being played, and it looks like he's going to bring that.
I think it's a breath of fresh air for Aberdeen, in terms of, because he's done it in I feel that from what I've seen in my very little watching of MLS football, it's very different to what it's here for me. So I feel like he's going to offer something completely different. I feel he's going to bring a lot more attacking sense to Aberdeen, in terms of actual getting players to drive up the pitch instead of not playing the likes of Celtic and Rangers are just sitting in sort of shit house on their way to a draw or such. Yeah.
I mean, it's such a tough one, because Derek McInnes, we've said it a few times that Derek McInnes had brought quite a bit of success to Aberdeen. Aberdeen weren't always, before Derek McInnes, they weren't always in cup finals, they weren't always at semi-finals, they weren't always finishing third or fourth. Maybe it's one of those where they ask for a change and it doesn't quite work out. So for Stephen Glass, it's going to be difficult. But again, I mean, Jack, from your point of view, is obviously Rangers looking to win the cup. Aberdeen are still going to be a threat, especially if Stephen Glass can find a formula that can make them do well against Rangers that McInnes hadn't quite managed in recent times.
That's probably the only worry I have as a Rangers fan going up against them, because when you went into an Aberdeen game as a Rangers or a Celtic fan, I guess, like, Derek McInnes's tactics against the Old Firm were just stupid sometimes. Like, going man-to-man against an Old Firm team is just suicide. But this guy's obviously going to have a fresh look. He's going to have a new game plan, so it's going to be up to us to kind of work around that. And obviously Rangers and Celtic probably have the quality to beat whatever they've got to throw at us, but it's that new aspect that you don't really know yet. So I'm assuming Gerrard will be examining that Livingston game like until we play them in the last game of the season. But even if we get on the cup as well, that'd be good.
There's McGinley in the chat. McGinley's coming on board as well as part of the New League team, so we'll see him on at some point this week. Apparently Ryan's on the Kerry fail again, which is his bread and butter these days. He's not even used to Kerry fail. Someone's Cam McFarlane's asking thoughts on Kyle Lafferty. Well, I was just going to quickly come on to the Kilmarnock game. Now, what a mad state of affairs was that the Kilmarnock game on Saturday kicked off in the morning. It was an 11:45 kickoff at Rugby Park, and Kyle Lafferty scored again. And Callum, he looks like if Killie are going to stay up, Kyle Lafferty's going to be the difference for them.
I think even when he came in, I think it was in his first 2 games. I think he had 3 goals, 3 or 4 assists as well. Like, it was actually, he said, a good start. I think, as you said, he will be the man that will make a difference for them to definitely keep up.
Again, just anyone else who's in the chat, any questions towards the end of the show, fire in your questions, so we'll get to them. Elsewhere in the Cup this weekend, what else do we have there? That mad game on, I think it was Friday night, between Motherwell and Morton at Fir Park. Now, I was on Twitter and I saw that Stephen O'Donnell had scored in the 121st minute to make it 1-0 to Motherwell. And I thought, oh, Motherwell are through. That's wild. And then in the 123rd minute, Marcus Fjortov equalised for Morton. And that was very nearly the only shock of the round, Jack, because we've had, I don't think there is, it's all Premiership teams, isn't it, in the quarterfinals? Yeah. So that was close to being the shock, but Motherwell just about got through.
I mean, I'd have loved to have seen me Gogsy's face watching that. I didn't watch his live, but that'd have been beautiful. They'd have been celebrating like mad, and then he might have been crying at Ibrox again. That would have been
But yeah, I think there was a clip going around his live stream of him going through all the emotions.
I'll definitely be looking that up.
But I think Stephen O'Donnell ended up scoring the winning penalty as well, so a decent evening's work for him as Motherwell went through. Quickly, thoughts on Graham Alexander, Callum? How do you rate how he started at Motherwell so far?
I mean, I didn't exactly have high expectations of him when he came in, but I still feel as if he's been quite poor. And essential results, I think the best game they've had, probably for me that I've seen, probably game against Rangers. I think it finished a draw, or Rangers won 2-1. It was one of his first 2 games in charge. It was that.
They just ended up winning that again. I can't really remember. Jack, you'll be able to tell us.
I think we drew them.
Oh, right, okay.
That was probably the best I think I've seen a Motherwell team play under him. So I've watched, but other than that, I'm not impressed by him.
I have to say, though, I mean, when he came in, Motherwell were looking like one of those teams that really could have been dragged into the relegation fight, Jack, and they seem to have pulled away from that now. I suppose he'll be wanting to just rebuild in the summer and go again next season. That's
probably the thing you need to give him the benefit of the doubt. He was flying into this job at probably the worst time for them. So the fact that if he keeps them up, that's objective number 1 complete. Then he can actually put his own stamp on it next season and bring in some players if they've got the funds. Maybe let go of some people that he's not really feeling. So I think the judgment on him will be a lot more next season than what he's had to do the rest of this season.
Ryan wants us to answer. So Spunkman's asking for like Hayley Williams. I'm a big fan of Paramore, but Jack, any thoughts on Hayley Williams at Paramore?
I think it's getting that sort of question. I've got all my football notes. Then I didn't have Paramore.
That's enough Hayley Williams chat, but at least we got a mention. I'm more of a Robbie Williams man, as Craig Stevenson said. Anyway, moving on to the rest of the Cup games. 4 for Dundee United. It was on the BBC. I don't think I wouldn't expect you to watch that, but the interesting thing about that game was, I don't know if anyone heard coming out of it, Richard Foster was on punditry with the BBC, and he obviously is at Thistle now, and Thistle got put out by Dundee United in the last round, but he'd made a comment about Dundee United goalkeeper being injured in the warm-up, saying that Richard Foster said he hoped he'd broke his hand, which is the United fans were absolutely fuming with that, so a bit of sour grapes on his part. Interesting punditry, but I mean, Dundee United through. Jack, Mickey Mellon at Dundee United, has been a bit of rumour this week that he's interested in, Doncaster are interested in bringing him down the road. What do you make of how he's done it at United this season? Obviously, their first season back in the top flight.
I mean, very, very unlucky not to get top 6. I feel like losing on goal, not getting top 6 on goal difference is a bit of a stinger, but you can't take away that coming up and finishing 7th is actually quite a decent return for the first time back. I think people underestimate the jump for the Championship to the Premiership sometimes. Like, even when Rangers came up, even though we weren't anywhere near the top, we were struggling. We finished 3rd, so people don't realise the jump. So I think he's done well. I think as the seasons go on, that will show more what kind of done you need to go for. I think the top 6 is going to be obviously their goal every season. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they, because obviously they're going to, I think how they got in on their first game after the split. I've not even checked that, but I'm pretty sure they'll finish on more points than St Johnstone. Ironically, that's lovely how the split works. But next season they'll be trying to get into that top 6.
See, Callum, they've suffered a little bit from what Hearts are going to suffer from next season. In that, I know they're just up from the Championship, but a club that size expect to be in the top 6. It'll be worse for Hearts next season, but Dungeon are now going to be in a position now where they've consolidated pretty comfortably. They've played decent stuff at times, but we know they can be better. I mean, Shankland has been decent at times, but we know we can be better. Next season, Callum, they'll be pushing for the top 6, you'd imagine.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. I mean, as I was saying, they're unlucky to miss out on it due to goal distance. I think, especially at the start of the season, they were looking quite strong. They were looking like they were playing some decent football. When they sort of had that period where they petered out, same way Shankland team's very hot and cold. Like, I think there's been times you could maybe score 2-3 games in a row and he's looking well, and then it'll go that quiet way for another 2-3 games and won't score.
Yeah.
So you're that hit and miss, but I fancy them for top 6 next season.
On another side that almost made the top 6, but just about failed, St Mirren obviously had a very good season under Jim Goodwin. They've done really well. Played Inverness on Friday night. Inverness are flying just now, much to my disgust, as they're pushing them for 4th in the playoffs. But I mean, St Mirren, Jack, you'll be hoping that they don't meet you lot in the cup again this season.
I mean, I never thought I'd say I'm scared of St Mirren, but here we are. Also, I've never known anybody that hates Inverness. That's a weird one. I didn't think they were relevant enough to even hate. So no offense.
They're going to bump us out the playoffs. So anyone who does that will be hating. Not as much as I hate them filming just now, but anyway.
St Mirren's one of those. I fully blame it on the retro shirts. The only time we wore it and we got beat, so I fully blame that. It's not came out the draw since that game. So if we get them in the cup and I see an announcement on Twitter that we were in that shirt, I won't even be watching the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know they're obviously very disappointed in not getting the top 6, Callum, but semi-finals of the League Cup, which a bit disappointing didn't get through. And also, the quarterfinals of the Scottish Cup, semi-finals, League Cup, and 7th place. A really good season for St Mirren, and Jim Goodwin has done a magic job there. And it doesn't feel to me like they've peaked. I think St Mirren can go again and really, keep pushing this positive direction they're going.
I mean, especially if they keep the same group of players they've got, if they make any additions, so Jim Goodwin will know better than us. They can bring them in. I think they generally could make a good push for it next season. Not saying they'll push like top 3 or 4, but I think they could generally have a good enough season next year to sort of build on this season.
Yeah, I mean, their recruitment I think has been really, really impressive. They picked up a lot of guys that other clubs aren't doing, especially from the Irish leagues. I think I started when Owen Kearney was there, and they've kind of continued. They've got lots of good young players. So it'll be interesting to see how they do next season, and they'll fancy themselves as an outside chance of maybe getting to a cup semi-final or a cup final. But moving on to the last couple of ties, St Johnstone obviously beat Clyde on Saturday evening, I think that game was, and they'll face Rangers in the next round. Jack, I think you'll be expecting Rangers to win that game, but St Johnstone have been a really decent side this season, and they've got the taste for doing well in the cups.
They definitely they've been a bit of banana skin for us in recent years, but this season is probably the only season I went in it. I think I've been in every game confident, and I don't, and there's obviously a reason why. So I'm going to go into that with the full expectation that we're going to put 100% in it. There's nothing else to worry about. Now the league's done. There's nothing else to focus on. Obviously, we're not in Europe anymore, so this is the last chance for silverware in terms of what's left. So I want to see us going full tilt. So it's one of those games where you can kind of tell for the first 10-15 minutes how it's going to go. If Rangers start fresh, then they'll dominate the ball. But sometimes when teams like that press you quite quick and they'll try and get the early goal and then sit in for the 90th, then there's always possibilities for that. But I would assume we're going to win that game, but I'm not going to make any rash claims because this is live and people can click this. And I don't want to end up like a meme. Like I see Ryan all the time on my Twitter feed. I don't want to see myself.
Listen, I've been worried about this over a year now. I've been doing this now. The only time I've ever been clipped on Twitter is me sitting in the background of Ryan said something. So I think we're all safe. You can fucking whistle for it. Anyway, last game for the weekend to talk about: Stranraer 0, Hibs 4. I got a message. I wasn't watching the game, but I got a message that Kevin Nisbet was having an absolute howler. He eventually got his goal, but he missed numerous chances in the first half. Now, I don't know if you remember back to the League Cup semi-finals when Hibs got put out by St Johnstone, but a lot of Hibs fans at that point wanted Jack Ross to get the sack. A lot of them were not happy, and now I think Hibs fans, maybe unfairly, will probably be expecting them to give a real good go at winning this cup. I think Rangers obviously are still the favourites, but I mean, for a side like Hibs, Callum, they'll be hoping they can get to the final and then hopefully win the thing.
They'll be hoping so. I mean, they'll be hoping they're not waiting as long as they were last time to win the Scottish Cup again. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. Because again, they've been a very hot and cold team as well. Start of the season we were right, completely puttered it, and then we just got to start to pick it up a bit again now, I think. But for me, I don't see them pushing much in the cup, depending on who they get following round.
I mean, you look at their squad, though, they've got a really, really good squad, and I think that, I know, it's a tough one, because Jack Ross is taking quite a bit of stick this season at times, but they've still had a reasonably decent season. I mean, they surely can't complain too much. I mean, imagine they're going to get better again next year, and obviously they'll have a derby back in the league next year. So Comedy Evans Spunk for a what highlight. Who would win an 8v8 street fight, TSF or a Celtic State of Mind? Now, listen, I'm not in the business of calling people out, but I'm joking.
I don't know. They'd get a battering.
That's yeah.
I don't even know who's doing that podcast.
I'll let the chat decide who would win in that. Matt Gunner says Nisbet's not good enough for Scotland. Well, I mean, I will defend that resolutely, but my return question to that would who would be good enough then? Because obviously, Callum, we're not blessed with striking options, and I think he's over the course of the season earned his place in the squad. I would have said, Callum.
I would like to think so. I mean, I would have definitely took him above like Shankland or such again, because again, Shankland's never been there for it. So also, you've watched more of Nisbet than myself, so you'll know what he's actually capable of.
Yeah,
and he's in the sort of the right frame of mind. But for me, I think he is good enough for Scotland.
He's done quite well in the games against Rangers as well, is he not, Jack? I think when he scored in the last game, did he score earlier this season as well?
He's like one of only 3 players to score at Ibrox this season, so
yeah,
that's good. And that's for the stats at Ibrox this season have been unbelievable. So the fact that he's one of the ones that scored, then that's obviously I don't see why he wouldn't be in the Scotland squad. Our striking options are a bit abysmal, so we need all the help we can get up there, I think.
I think that was the last of the games. Anyway, just before we round up, any more questions in the chat ahead of another weekend? Oh God, I mean, I don't know about you guys now, but I am firmly in Euros mode now. It's mental how close it is. We're now just over 2. Well, no, actually, yeah, we will be 2 months, less than 2 months till the England game, which is absolutely wild to think about. It's going to fly in. So yeah, I just can't wait for that. I wonder what else we've got in the chat here. Coriancha says that scored at Ibrox and must be a superstar. I'm guessing that's sarcasm, but Kevin Nisbet. I don't think Kevin Nisbet. That's my boy. I'm not having this. It's an absolute disgrace. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna believe. Yeah, there's nothing else really in the comments I can see just now. Callum, any final thoughts on the weekend or going forward to the end of the season? Anything you're expecting to see Celtic wise in terms of news?
Nah, the only thing I can really hope for is how to be announced, or at least a decent name of manager to be announced if it's not to be him. But I wouldn't hold my breath in it now. Yeah.
And Jack, just finally from you, your first live experience, has it been everything you dreamed it would be?
I mean, the sweat isn't ideal, but it's been fun. I've had a good laugh reading the comments. I've done a good laugh.
The comments are very entertaining. There's a reason we purposely only highlight a select few of comments. But yeah, someone there saying announce Jose. How long before we see Jose Mourinho linked with the Celtic job? I think that'll be imminent, Callum.
Oh, it would not surprise me if they started saying it tomorrow. It would not surprise me.
What I have to say was I found it quite funny that there was a few people on Twitter this morning saying that they wouldn't take Jose Mourinho at Celtic, which I thought was just fantastic. You've got to love the confidence of some people. But anyway, that's going to do us for this first live show. Good we chat with the boys. We're back again tomorrow. Me, Ryan, and Dev are doing a podcast, and we're back again Wednesday and Friday and live Thursday again with the podcast. So yeah, first show, the revamp. As if you check our Twitter and our Instagram, you'll see our schedule of shows. So thank you all for tuning in, and thanks to Callum and Jack for joining me, and we will see you all next time. Cheerio.